So I'm Felix Lowe, and I wrote a book called Climbs and Punishment.
Right.
So how did you find writing? Was this your first book? Or?
It was my first book, yes, yeah. It's all about how I took up cycling at the age of 30, 31, 32, because I've written about cycling for a whole decade, but without ever getting in the saddle. And I started writing for Cyclist magazine, a column about me taking up the sport at quite a late age, in the wake of Bradley Wiggins' victory in the Tour de France and everything. And it snowballed from there. And I did this route from Barcelona to Rome, crossing 3 different mountain ranges in the footsteps of Hannibal, the Carthaginian general. So there's a bit of history in there. There's my own kind of personal quest to take up cycling at quite a late age, coming at it from the perspective of someone who's written about it, for his bread and butter for a decade. And the route was a good route. We weren't just tracing his footsteps, but we were also dropping into all these different iconic climbs and things. So we went up Mont Ventoux, we did Alpe d'Huez, we did the Col Agnel, and some kind of key Tour de France and Giro d'Italia climbs. And it was a great experience.
What is the idea of the book?
Well, funnily enough, I'd written my first column for this magazine, Cyclist, and someone who read it organises this bike tour called the Hannibal Bike Tour. And they wrote into me and said, look, we loved your column, we think you should come and join us for a few days on the Hannibal tour. And now I studied history at university, and I'd studied Latin even at school, so I kind of knew about Hannibal, I'm very interested in this. And so I kind of went along, thinking, okay, I'll do a couple of days, but I ended up doing the whole thing. Started in Barcelona, finished in Rome, and it was 26 days, including 2 rest days, and we were doing around 100 kilometers a day. And the whole aim of the book was to tie in my personal challenge, but contextualize it with the 3 Grand Tours. So we have the Vuelta a España, the Tour de France, and the Giro d'Italia. So we were going through those 3 territories where cycling kind of, the hotbeds of cycling are. And so, it dovetailed very nicely. Yeah, well, it was my first book, and I had no expectations, and I'm extremely pleased to just be on the shortlist. It's one of the other guys on the shortlist, a guy called Tim Moore, and I read his book when I was a teenager. He wrote a book called French Revolutions, and it's all about him riding the Tour de France route in 2000. And I remember reading this thinking, this guy's so lucky. Not only has he been able to ride this route, he's written a book about it. And I never thought I would go on to, firstly, write about cycling as a living, but then also to write a book in a kind of similar vein, kind of about my own experiences in the saddle, suffering up these climbs in the September heat. It was it's great, and this evening should be a fun evening, and I'm very humbled to be on the shortlist because the guys who are there alongside me are very established, and they're the kind of people that got me into cycling in the first place. I've read their books, I've read their articles and things. So it's in the last few years, they've become my colleagues and peers, which is great for me. And now I find myself kind of on the same list for this book award. So I'm very excited. Whatever happens, it's going to be a great evening, and I'm very pleased.